Hi, I'm Christopher Walker with Closely Observed Teaching. Now recently on social media I made a little story where I posted a little clip of this book and I said, why is it important that EFL teachers read old books? Well, the answer is, some people touched on it actually. Martina Florek, for example, had a very good suggestion that it's to learn new words. That's kind of connected. But actually the reason I think that EFL teachers should read old books as well as new books is so that they can become more conscious of the ways in which language has changed over the years. And one of the classic examples would be just the title of a book by Samuel Johnson from several hundred years ago, which was The History of Rasselas. So history was originally used in the same way as story. So we had the true history of such and such, and it meant story in that context. Now the reason that's quite important is because a lot of words in different languages come from the same origin. So if you're an EFL teacher here in Poland and your students know the word historia, which is still history and story, they might make a mistake as they're talking, but it's not really their fault. They just don't know yet that there is a difference in English. So for me, that's one of the main reasons that EFL teachers should read older books. It's to get this idea of language change and language shift. You see different grammar constructions when you go from one book to another. The way that Jane Austen used grammar is not the way that we use grammar today. And you start to see this difference between the older English and newer English, and we can take that to our students. When students make a mistake that's kind of a translation mistake, we can understand it. And we have to remember that a lot of languages share these same origins. A lot of things come from Latin and Greek all the way through. Take, for example, the word magazine. Now, the original meaning of magazine was similar to warehouse. They were essentially synonymous. And you can still see that a little bit if you think about, for example, a gun. Where do you keep all the bullets in a gun? In a magazine. But many hundreds of years ago, whenever it was, somebody was looking for a new name for a kind of periodical, not like a newspaper exactly, because it had everything. And they thought, what could we call this thing that has everything? And they thought, we'll call it a magazine. Now that happened in Britain, and that use of the word spread across the English-speaking world. But in places like Poland, they stuck with the original meaning of magazyn, which in Polish means warehouse. And again, this is going to be a problem for students. It's a kind of false friend now. So when a student wants the word warehouse, they might go for the Polish. They're not 100% wrong. It's important to know that. It's important to know where these words come from, because it can help you to diagnose the mistakes that people make and to help them fix them. It also makes fixing it a lot softer. If you tell a student, I'm sorry, that's just wrong, that can sound kind of painful at times. But if you tell a student, well, you're wrong, but I can tell you why, and actually it's quite sensible, so don't worry about it so much. So until next time, that's me. That's why I think EFL teachers ought to read older books as well as new books. Well done for those of you who suggested something very close to that. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing and blah, blah, blah. And perhaps buy me a coffee. Thank you very much and see you next time.